Hi, you are listening to the New Pathways podcast for professionals.
My name's Rosie and I'm a volunteer counsellor at New Pathways. I finished my placement training at the beginning of the year and I've been working with clients since then.
My name's Laura and I'm a volunteer counsellor, and Rosie and I were on the same cohort.
So Laura and I are going to be having a conversation about what it's been like to apply to be a volunteer at New Pathways, how the process was, how we're finding it, and we're doing it because it's Volunteers Week. Okay, so what made you choose New Pathways for your placement?
I think because I was aware of the organisation and what they did, and I'd experienced them a little bit with work and things, and everybody I ever met was really, really passionate about what they do and really passionate about the ethos of the organisation and what they were really trying to work on and help people with. And I think because it in life can be quite a taboo subject.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's hard. It's a horrible experience for people, and for people to be passionate about wanting to help those people to process it and to, find a new place in their life after something that's happened. I think, I thought I want to give that a go.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think that passion to support people around sexual violence and sexual abuse, where we're so silent, to actually, we're here, we can talk about this, you and I think that's definitely something that made me want to do my placement here, thinking that I would be part of breaking that silence. One of the people kind of waving the flag saying, okay, if you're looking for this kind of help, we can help. And I think actually I was really impressed as well by the organisation and structure of New Pathways. They've been doing this for so well for so long. I think, it really made me think I want to learn from how they're doing things. So, that's for me too.
And I think everybody is also seems so happy in their job and their role.
Been here for a long time.
And you would almost feel a bit worried. Okay, like you say, sexual violence and sexual abuse is a hard and difficult subject, a taboo subject. How does that impact on people who work with people and support? But everyone seems to support each other so well and is so happy to do what they're doing that you think, oh, they will be hopefully support for me.
I think you're right. And I think the word specialist, I think being a specialist organisation and working with people who've been subjected to sexual violence and abuse, they understand every angle of what the client might need, but also every angle of what a volunteer might need, of what a staff member might need. There's the idea that everything's been thought through. And I think that came across to me, for a lot longer before I even thought about volunteering here. And then, was the case when I actually came. So should we look at the next question? Okay. How did you find the application process?
So it was intense. And it was it felt rigorous, but it felt valid. And I felt that I really understood the purpose of each aspect of that process. Why we were doing it. There was a lot of clarity there. There was a lot of support there. So it took a long time and it felt like a lot, but actually you always felt supported through it.
I think I'd agree. And I think there was a reason for every stage of the process. It wasn't arbitrary or something that was set up years ago and then we're just carrying on doing it that way. But the application form, the coffee information evening, the assessment weekend, it is a lot. And you kind of do think other placements are an interview and that's it. But I feel like within the application process, I got to know the organisation as well. The journey through that was not only an opportunity for me to show who I would be as a volunteer, but also for me to get to know what the organisation was like, which was helpful.
Really helpful.
It did take time. But I think it was important.
And I think it was this funny paradox of making me really nervous, but actually giving me confidence of when I got through that application process, because it was so long and there were a lot of elements, like you say, that I must be the kind of person that they want here. And that, you know, I think it helped you grow in confidence of, well, I think I want to do this. I learn a bit more about the organization, but actually they want me too. That feels great.
Yeah, definitely. And each stage you get through is that little confirmation, isn't it? And actually, okay, I've made it through this bit, so I must be all right. I've made it through this bit, so okay, I've got a bit more evidence. Yeah, that's true. It's a confidence building exercise, isn't it? And practice, I guess, for the future as well, in kind of this field, isn't it? So yeah, helpful.
Yes.
Do you want to read the next one?
I don't mind. So how did you find the training?
Okay, how did you find the training? I think the training was really useful. I wish before I'd started that I'd known it was accredited. I don't think I knew that.
No.
I don't know if I missed it somewhere. But actually to come out of all of that training, knowing that actually it's accredited, it's something I can say I've had, was really good. And I think it was long. I mean, it was what, 70 hours or something over the time. So. You know, and it was a commitment. It was, and over the weekend you had to move things around in my life and things. But actually, when I finished the training, I realised I've been asked to consider this work from every angle. And then when I ended up working with clients, I realised it had equipped me for everything. So it's long and it was a lot of work and quite overwhelming at times, but really, really relevant for the work with New Pathways clients.
I agree. And I think just on that point you made around it equipping you, I think it prepared you for some of the things you might hear, for some of the experiences that people had. It was real, and it allowed you that space to kind of be a bit shocked by it before you were with a real client and explore that and ask the questions in a safe environment, that it didn't matter if you didn't understand a little bit or you got it wrong. So you felt like you could process some of the things that we work with all the time now. And also I felt like the team were really good at giving us the space to say, and the warning to say, you may be triggered by this, or we're here to support you for this. I thought that was a really good element of the training too. We were supported all the way through the training.
Absolutely.
So I think it really did equip you as much as it could, as much as it can for a real person sitting there in front of you. And I thought it was really, really valuable.
Really, really valuable, and more specialist than any other training I've ever had. I'd really agree there. And I think, another word for training is practice, isn't it? And it was that space to let's explore, let's practice. How am I going to be in this situation? How am I going to be impacted? And actually, we don't want to do that with clients, do we? So actually to have an agency to give you the space to discover that and explore that, was really, really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. Do you want to look at the next question? So I'll start again, because that is not what that says. Do you get much support whilst on placement?
Yes. I think this is something, in my experience, definitely we get a lot of support. One thing is that supervision is 1-to-1, so 45 minutes every other week. So you get a supervisor all to yourself, which is nice. And I think being supported by Ruth, the placement manager, adult counselling manager, any manager around, I think, is really willing to give any support, which I think is really valuable, especially if you're in the office, being able to sit down with a cup of tea with someone after a session. But just in terms of every step of the way as well, I think there are enough people who really know their stuff at New Pathways that you don't have to go far to find someone who'll give you a hand.
I agree. And I think the support in terms of just actually really making you feel like part of the team I thought I would feel like a volunteer, and I don't feel like a volunteer. I feel like a member of New Pathways staff, and that is how I'm treated. And everybody's very respectful of each other, and nothing is a problem. So if you do need support or you do have a question, it's fine, because we're all working on that same goal together. We all know that ultimately answering that question or taking that little bit of time helps us to support clients better, and that's what we're here for. But I have always, from the first time I set foot in the office, felt so welcome and so respected, and that they're grateful to have us here, because they couldn't see as many clients as they would be able to without volunteers either.
Yeah, that's really true. There's not a sense of being like a second tier.
No.
And actually, something my supervisor said to me, which I really welcomed, was, that they had learned something from me, and I thought, oh gosh, we're learning so much from each other. And I think that is something I really value in New Pathways, because so many people here are counsellors and are reflective. But even if we're not a counsellor, actually there's an atmosphere of we're all here to help, we're all here for the same reason. Let's learn from each other, let's support each other. So there's not a sense of, oh, I don't have time for you, I'm too important. I've not come across that, which is really wonderful. It makes you feel that you can have the courage to carry out the work, isn't it?
Definitely.
So how are you managing your work-life balance?
I don't know. I think part of that comes into the support again from the organisation. I work full-time as well as volunteering, so I don't have all the hours in the world to give New Pathways. Not that I think any volunteer does really, but I have to be quite strict with the amount of hours. But everyone's been so flexible in allowing that, for me to still be able to see clients, for me to still receive supervision, for me to still be able to come into the office and make that, feel like I'm part of the team. So I think a massive element of helping me manage that work-life balance is actually the way New Pathways are as an organisation. And I think my own sort of personal motivation. Sometimes I think I don't quite know how I fitted all that in, but I want to. And I think that's a huge part of it. But then on the flip side of it, I genuinely think if I was to say, I'm not quite sure if I am managing, or can we talk about this, that support would also be there too.
I agree. It really facilitates it being possible. I think I'd say as well, the good thing about New Pathways is you can see clients on the evenings, on the weekends, and throughout, summer holidays, and so it's not just in term time, things like that. I think actually, and there's a lot of people out there who need help, and I think you're right, that's the motivation, isn't it? That, okay, how am I going to be able to fit this in? I guess it's really important to think about it beforehand. I think that's the other benefit of the application process and training, is that you've got the time to think, how am I going to figure this out? We know from the outset, New Pathways wants us to see 3 clients. We know where the offices are, when the offices are open, for if we need to see clients in person. And it does require organisation. I think you're right, if you need help organising things and figuring things out, then definitely there's the people there to help make that happen. And like anything, I think, we just need to plan in time for us too, so we don't burn out. And I think that's definitely encouraged at New Pathways. I think I've seen that. It's not about fitting in clients every hour of every day.
No.
Because that wouldn't be good for us. It wouldn't be good for the clients either. So it is a challenge. But it's made possible, isn't it? Definitely.
And I think it, like you say, it is about being honest with yourself about what you can. I think the one, important thing to do is sit back and think, well, this is how my life is at the moment. This is what I've got to commit to work. This is what I can do for personal. This is where I've got college or training or whatever. And really if you're upfront with what you can offer, there's massive support there. But I think that's been a challenge for me, because I'm not that planned a person. But then it becomes part of your routine, doesn't it? So
it has to, really. If you want to do it, you've got to make it happen. What would you say to anyone considering doing their placement at New Pathways?
I would say do it. If you if it feels right for you, test the waters and definitely go through the training and the application process, because you will get you will get the reality of what it's like. I think it's so clear all the way through. There's nothing that is like, surprise, now we've started. Oh, I wish I'd known that, really.
Yeah.
So I think you'll know from the training and the assessment process if you feel you could do it.
Yeah.
So I think, I would say test the waters. I would say, like a few things that you've said, that it's accredited.
Yeah.
We get one-to-one supervision.
Yeah.
I think on the compared to some other placements, I think it certainly feels like we're more supported.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a real sense of being part of a big, established, capable network. I think test the waters is really good advice. I think a lot of people think, oh, I couldn't do that. When I tell people where I'm doing my placement, lots of people say, oh gosh, I think it's really important for people to know that 1 in 4 of us will have experienced some kind of sexual violence or abuse. I think we think people who've experienced sexual violence and abuse, how could we ever be qualified enough as a volunteer to even begin to work and help that person? But so many of us are walking around with that experience, and it's important to say, to ask yourself, do you think you could be the kind of person who could help someone? And I think more of us are capable of that than we think. And I think actually, no matter where we do our placement, we'll come across people who've experienced sexual violence, and to be able to be equipped and trained by New Pathways that really know their stuff is just so valuable in entering into any kind of counselling and helping work. Just having that real knowledge, trauma-informed practice. And at the end of the day, we're all human. No one's going to be the perfect healing machine. But we are all capable of being good helpers. And I think, we might need to have a bit more courage to step in to that.
And I think the training and the assessment process, I felt like I'd come into it with my eyes wide open, and that opened my eyes even wider to things that I hadn't even thought of. So I think I would say try and come in with your eyes wide open, but actually naturally the process will show you so much. And I think something that I try to say to myself sometimes is that little voice of, can I do this, is always going to be there. It's not going to magically go away after the assessment and the training, because if you're the kind of person that thinks, and part of the reason that voice is there, because I want to do my best, I really want to help clients. And I think it's only until that moment where you sit in a room with someone and you just see that there's another person there, and you just know that they just want somewhere safe and someone to listen, you think, I can.
That's beautiful.
Thank you for listening to our New Pathways podcast. To find out more about New Pathways, you can visit us on our website at www.newpathways.org.uk. You can contact us on 01685 379 310, or you can drop us an email at inquiries@newpathways.org.uk.